Hello and welcome to the probably second last podcast of the season. Glad to have you on board. Thanks for returning. It's going to be a good one. This I'm actually very keen on speaking with the three guys that are on. We've got Robertson running through the qualifying and race, bringing some really balanced and good opinions. We have LFC as well, who is going to be running through. I don't really know. We never really planned that bit, if I'm honest, so apologies if it's a bit wordy. And we have Aldoro as well. So yeah, that will be quite cool and contrasting, polarising trio of people for this. So yeah, sit back and enjoy, and on to the next section. And onto the next section, I am joined by Robertson today. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, obviously quite an eventful race around Mexico. Conditions were interesting again for the race, but quali and for quali actually. We didn't really have much of a window to get any laps in, did we?
I think I got 2 laps in, and then that was it. So yeah.
Yeah. I suppose first things first. We'll run through qualifying. Army Tricks in the Tour also managed a 16 dead, which was probably a bit slower than I was thinking for the pole time. I'd seen Army practicing, and I think he was doing like 15.7, but I was a little bit surprised with that. I suppose before we go into any more detail with the rest of it, how did you find your qualifying? Because obviously you was in fifth.
Well, on my first lap, I tangled with Aldo, and I didn't manage to actually finish that. And then I just put another lap to be sure that I'll be there.
Yeah.
I could have probably done a lot better, but I'm fine. First of all, I want to say huge congratulations to Waluigi.
Yeah.
Because he is the new D2 champion, and he fully deserved it.
Yep. No, definitely. I mean, he's just incredibly quick all season. Never really seemed to have too much of a bad race, even when there's so many incidences going on everywhere. The guy just seems to avoid everything. It's pretty incredible, really. But I suppose, yeah, and he obviously come in second in quali.
That was kind of surprising for me. I was expecting him to get an easy pole here, but I guess I'm really happy for Army, because he's had some really bad races, and
yeah.
I mean, we'll get to that.
Yeah, no, definitely. But it's interesting. I thought Army, I made predictions early last week. Well, sorry, back in the last week. But I actually thought, look, I went back through last year and the times, and I noticed that he was, second behind Yari. So I thought actually he could be quite quick around here, and practicing with him, I wasn't that surprised he was quick. But still, you'd think Luigi would, like you say, I think a lot of people would have been predicting Luigi to do well. So incredibly good result for Army. We had Luigi in second in quali. We had Aldoro in third with a 16.4. So that's quite quick. And then closely followed by Cloudy in fourth, who also did a 16.4, but just slightly slower. Bit of a gap, I think, to Cloudy yourself. Yeah. I can't help but feel like that's conditions based, though. I know a few people had something to comment about the gap and the competitiveness of the league, but normally yourself, me, V5, obviously, Danny and Dave at least would be putting in quicker times than that. I think we all did a lot quicker in practice runs. I was hoping to get about 16.3 personally. but I just messed up my first lap and then just had to put in some kind of lap under the pressure with all the rain coming down. So I don't know, I think there's a bit of an unfair criticism from Odoro saying that there's only four quick guys in the league. I think that's a little bit I don't know, I don't really agree with that. I don't know what you think.
I mean, even if there were only 4 good guys in the league, there are a lot of us that know how to drive, so
yeah, no, fair. Maka, I thought this was a good strategy for Maka on the super softs, coming in 6th. I had a feeling that where the rain was, that wasn't necessarily a bad idea actually, and that's actually quite a relatively quick time on the super softs.
That's a really good time.
Yeah, I thought he might do very well in that race when I saw these quality results at the end of qualifying. Myself in 7th, Bellon in 8th. Really good result for Bellon. Not a super quick time, but you know, I think that's one of his best qualifying results this season. Closely followed by Emperor, who they always seem to be together. Bellon and Emperor, even on track, they just you can never seemingly separate them. And then you had LFC with a stonking lap to put him in the top 10 with a 1:23. That's an incredible time to be 10th. And Ibo, I think Ibo went out when it was raining. I think he invalidated and did that lap. Yeah, so I won't be too harsh on Ibo. End of the day, he got round, and Dave and Danny didn't. And Stevo, obviously, I don't think Stevo managed to get a time either because he joined late in the session. Yep. Look, I mean, we'll go obviously onto the race. There's a lot of people that were a bit mixed up in regards to starting positions. You know, you've got Dave and Danny starting at the back, and Stevo, which is always going to be interesting. It was myself, you, and Maka. I was worried because obviously turn 1 in Mexico last time wasn't great. It was a real difficult opening to the race. What happened from your point of view on lap 1? What you know?
Well, I mean, I tried to keep it clean, and I think I actually managed to do that quite well.
Yeah.
Dave had a surprising start, and he was near me, and I think turn 6 or 7.
Yeah.
I had to give him a bit of space, and he managed to get through. And then I just tried to be consistent and not make any mistakes. So my first lap, I think, was pretty good for the most part.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's interesting. You know, I think a bit of a theme that we're going to talk about is probably racing and kind of racecraft through this. My kind of take on turn 1 was I actually got quite close to you, and I think you saw me, and you took a wide line and I took a narrow line. It's just things like that. Like, we could have easily both made contact with each other. I could have made contact with Maka, but it doesn't happen when, you know. And I think we've all, you know, I've done it before. But if you use your wits a bit and you don't try and win the race on lap 1, you'll end up actually coming out of it a bit better. And I think a few people seemingly tried to do that.
I think most of us try to do that. There's only one driver that kind of stood out and tried to, as you said, to win the race in lap 1. What do you think about that? What do you think about Aldo's approach to the race?
I think the first thing I want to say is that anyone can make mistakes. Okay, like.
Well, that's what I was thinking. You know, if he made a mistake in this race, that would have been it. I wouldn't have said anything. But he did that in the past 2 races as well. So. Yeah.
No, absolutely, and I think there's a difference between making a mistake and putting your hands up for it. So, I made a mistake in Monza. I was very apologetic. I messaged Army personally to apologise, you know, and there was no menace in it. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like I was trying to gain. There's a difference between dive bombing and overshooting a corner. V5 overshot a corner in Kota last year and ploughed into me. I didn't even get annoyed because it wasn't like he was trying to do it to gain kind of an advantage. It was literally just a misjudgment, and that's, you know, that's fine. And I think as a league we're fairly understanding when people make misjudgments.
Yep, exactly. That happened to Cristiano last season.
Yeah.
When in the first races he was just terrible.
Yeah.
And then we kind of, you know, with our support, with all the information that we gave him, he sort of managed to come through. But although it seems like he doesn't really care about what we're saying to him.
No, absolutely. And that's the frustrating thing, is when a driver can't acknowledge that it's a mistake and acknowledge that there's a problem. I think that's kind of the biggest issue that you're gonna encounter. It's a difficult one, because for me, I think the conduct about, you know, ruining people's races is more concerning for me than actually the actual act. You know,
I think that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
If I make a mistake and I ruin my race, then I'm fine with that. If with my mistake I ruin somebody else's race, then, you know, I'm not gonna feel really well. But he doesn't really seem to care, I guess, because he's ruined a lot of people's races, even right here at Mexico.
Yeah, Cloudy. I mean, you cannot. I mean, sorry, Cloudy and Maka had a altercation, and Cloudy got taken off in the incident with Alduro on lap 1, so Cloudy wouldn't have been around Maka. You know, there are just so many things that kind of happened as a result of it as well. We had, I mean, I don't want to talk about the past races too much, because there's already too much to talk about around Mexico. But Dave was seemingly, Dave was annoyed after. I think Danny was annoyed after. I think you weren't particularly happy. I wasn't happy, although it wasn't really. It's not like Aldoro did anything wrong. Again, that was a mistake. That's why I didn't really make a huge deal about it, in the sense of he was spinning and then I went into the back of him. So you can't help that. You know, I'm not. He might be reckless, but you can't really, you know, you can't blame someone for going into the back of them at turn 2 when they're spinning. You know, but I just think, I don't know. I personally genuinely feel like the league. The one good thing that's come out of this is that everyone in the league, you can tell, respects each other.
No, that's for sure. I mean, when I saw V5 get annoyed by, and actually he was so mad at Aldo, I was really surprised, because V5 is such a nice guy.
Yeah.
And all of us wanted to get on the action, and, you know, wanted to support V5, but
no, exactly. And I think go on.
As you said, it's really good for the league, because it shows how united we actually are. I wouldn't have thought about that before.
No, exactly. But I suppose we've kind of covered a lot about Aldo. I'm more disappointed by some of the things he says in the chat, personally, aimed at people. The fact he was talking a lot. He was actually talking very, very negatively about the league to V5. So there were some crazy DNFs. I don't know what you saw of Army's DNF, and was you anywhere near that at all?
No, I was not close to him, and I didn't see any videos. But again, I'm really sorry for him.
Yeah, I think actually that was something to do with the conditions, because that was when the weather was changing, and I think he either went on to inters too early or stayed out on dries. So I'm guessing the conditions played a part in that DNF.
That's unfortunate for him, really.
Yeah, definitely. And Maka, that was in the last corner. Me and Steve-O were actually saying on the chat on party where Maka crashed that it must have been an incident with someone else. And as it turned out, I think him and Cloudy made contact. But I don't know if you had a chance to see that contact.
I didn't see that either. The only contact I saw was the one between Cloudy and Aldo in the first lap.
I'll tell you what was good about that contact, though. is that Cloudy said, "This is what happened. This is what I did," and I believe he apologised. That's a difference between.
That's the normal thing to do, I think.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like. So. Yeah, just a weird one. I'm gonna add up the stats, and I might even put them on the video later in regards to the league. I don't know if Mac has already done it. Normally, Dave used to do it after the race, but he was obviously too busy celebrating England's win and his podium. But I can't really get the constructors up very easy. But I'm guessing it's getting quite tight now, actually. Between Force India, Haas and McLaren and even Mercedes and Toro Rosso, actually.
Does it matter, actually? I mean, Red Bull won it. That's all we need to say.
I've got to have some goals for the rest of the season.
You're going to get that podium in Brazil.
I don't know. I'm going to start using the wheel now. I'm going to just practice with the wheel for Brazil, knowing that I'm going to be really slow. I just fancy using it for one race and kind of just using it. I'm just not going to use pad anymore. Mexico was my last time using the pad, so I don't know. We'll see. In regards to Brazil, have you got any predictions at all?
Well, I'm expecting Waluigi to win it. Just, last race of the season, he's the champion. He just wants that. V5 to come second.
Yep.
He needs a really good race, and then, as I said, I think he'll come third. I have faith.
I hope so. I'll drive. I'll drive with the intention, but I don't know. I think I think Army might do well again. I'd quite like to see Army win, purely because it sets up next season quite nicely. I know it's a different game and everything, but I think having Army back at the top is good for the league, and it's not just V5 or Waluigi. So I predict Army to win. I'll predict Waluigi to come second. I don't really know for third. It depends if V5 practices or not. But I would hope he would come third.
That's a really interesting podium. But if Army wins, then he definitely deserves it.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, I suppose that kind of rounds it up. Is there any other comments you want to add to the podcast, Robert?
Well, I think the only thing I want to say is that I really appreciated that what Maka did, and in regards to the whole Aldo Rowe situation, and he actually gave him a race ban. I think that was the right thing to do, and we'll see. I don't want him to leave the league because we haven't seen his full potential yet. That's what happened last season to Cristiano. He started off really badly and just sort of came back towards the end. So maybe for the next season, if he manages to have a better behavior, then I think he'll be a good addition to the league.
You've got stronger faith than me. Not about Cristiano, by the way. Cristiano was like you said. Cristiano improved. I've commented on that before and how much he improved, like his racecraft towards the end. But I just want to reiterate what you said about Maka. Must be tough being the organizer, and he's had a horrible season, Maka, and to still actually be leading from the front on those kind of incidences is quite impressive. And I think he kind of showed why he's an organizer last night, and definitely helped the situation and kind of nipped it in the bud. So we always have a joke with Matt about Maka. I dare say LFC, who will be on this podcast after, probably has something to say about Maka's DNF.
I can't wait to hear about that. Well, LFC did get disqualified, so
yeah.
At like to hear something about that too.
Okay, now I'll make sure it's mentioned. I'll make sure I bring that up because I'll be doing that after this. So yeah. Cool. Well, I'll see you in Brazil, and we'll see who. I don't know what's left to fight for. I'll probably try and work it out at some point and see if there's anything too interesting. But it's all looking a little bit. I don't know. Hopefully it's a friendly race and we can wrap up F1 2017 with a good one.
It's definitely going to be a lot friendlier than Mexico because Aldo is not racing. But
yeah.
We'll see. Well, thanks for having me on the podcast again. It's been a pleasure.
No, it's good. It's if you put in the application for co-host and you and LFC apply, then I think I'll probably I'll side with you, my man. To be honest. Cool. All right. Cheers for that, and yeah, we'll go on to the next section. And on to the next section of the podcast, which is the obviously the most serious part and where we talk about the actual discussion and the meat of the race. I've got LFC with me. How you doing?
Hello. How are we?
Well, we've recorded this a bit late, and England have just gone out, so.
They have. So it's it's a difficult time right now, but
yeah,
we'll struggle through.
We'll press on.
Not long to the Premiership start, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's about a month. There we go. That's great as a Chelsea fan with no manager, no good players. But yeah, we digress. What did you make of the race? If it was a while ago, cast your mind back.
It was a while ago, actually. It was an interesting race. I didn't finish again, so that's encouraging.
Mm-hmm.
I did more laps this time.
Mm-hmm.
Misjudged the tyres twice. Didn't get my wing fixed twice.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't put the downforce on every time somehow.
Yeah.
And then finished. Well, DSQ. I think I DSQ'd. I can't remember if I DNF'd or DSQ'd, one or two.
Yeah, I think it was a disqualification based on corner cuts, I believe. But,
I can't remember. Probably was. You probably know better than me. I wasn't even drinking, so.
I was. I remember that.
Makes a change.
But you narrowly missed out on your first point because Emperor. Didn't finish the race. But
I would have rocketed ahead of Macca, but there we go. Never mind.
So Luigi won the title round here. The solid win
by default. Yeah, that's good.
Because V5 was out getting drunk. Yeah. I mean,
what a waste.
Toto
Wolff. What a waste. But here we go.
Toto Wolff is absolutely livid. What's
So Susie Wolff.
What's your big takeaways from this race then?
I was just really pleased. It was a very clean race. No incidents. No chat. No one annoyed about anything. I didn't need to leave the groups because there was no chat going on. So that was just a real positive all around.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
A lot of happy people.
Okay, it's an interesting view from the rear. That I mean, no incidents.
I think we'll say a view from the back. I think that's slightly less.
A view from the back. Sorry.
Slightly more inoffensive.
But
because we like to keep it clean. This is a family-friendly show.
Was there anything that you saw that you thought was untoward at all?
I mean, I saw a lot of dodgy moves, mainly from Dave actually, but it seemed to work well for him this time.
Yeah.
A lot of corner cuts, which it's weird actually. He must have, don't know, maybe he's hacked something because they weren't coming up on the race director, and he was taking some very wide lines at points. But
yeah, and that got him second.
Clearly, he's learnt from his. Yeah, well done, Dave. First podium, I think. Is that right?
Yeah.
Excellent. He's learnt from his indiscretions at Hungary, so that's encouraging.
This is the thing. Some people are born to lead, some people are born to play. Gareth Southgate's terrible, but he's clearly a good manager. I feel like your influence on Dave has actually spurred him on quite somewhat.
Yeah, I'm like the Zen master, not like Karate Kid, more like in Kill Bill.
Right, yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then obviously...
I'm not particularly wise, just more of an arsehole.
Yeah. Alright, I can go with that. But the one thing I'll say as well is you've lost ground in your Constructors title challenge. Obviously you've had a long hard season where you've managed to accumulate but yourself and your teammates.
Look, I had a word with the board. They're fine. The finance team obviously a little bit unhappy with burning through cash, but the MD's fine. He sees this as an investment season. People haven't heard necessarily of McLaren. It's not a big brand. It's one where kind of they're thinking of moving into the same sort of spaces. Ideally, sort of Nissan Micra space to compete with that, because that's quite a big car in the UK. For those of you who aren't in the UK, it's quite an aspirational brand.
Yes.
Certainly, you've had 3 or 4. I've had a couple.
But yeah.
Couple of McLarens.
Red Micra. Red Micra.
Red Micra, yeah. I had one. First car, actually. I insisted. My dad bought me one. He couldn't afford it, but I insisted, and he somehow found a way around it. It's interesting, actually, yeah, because he managed to find. Yeah, he found money for the car, and yeah, Mum's car seemed to disappear actually. But,
but there we go. You've got about 100 odd Constructors points. We won't break down how that lies between yourself and your teammates. But
it's look, as we say at McLaren, if you've not heard of McLaren, we say the brand motto is team first, Constructors Championship points, division later. That is the team motto and team brand. So
yeah, absolutely. And it kind of brings us on to third place with Danny, my teammate, who managed to...
Yeah, not interested. Move on. I don't know.
not many people do. This is the thing.
No.
He doesn't say a hell of a lot. He defends me a lot, so I'm a bit of a fan.
Well, you need to chuck self-interest out of the podcast, Mark.
Okay, that's a fair point. But well done to Danny in third. I'll give him that.
Well done, Danny. Well done.
What about fourth? You see much of Aldoro?
Fourth? No. Who was fifth?
Who was fifth? You're testing me now.
Oh, he was that guy making crazy moves and going mental in the chat afterwards, wasn't he? Fifth. It wasn't fourth, it was fifth.
Cloudy Balloons.
Cloudy Balloons, making crazy dive bombs, not defending. Yeah, going mad in the chat afterwards. Is he on the podcast, Cloudy Balloons? The guy who's making all the moves on Saturday?
No.
He's not? Oh,
no, he's not.
Be.
Or his slightly lesser known cousin that now Luigi says, which is still my favourite way of saying it. Cloudy Balloons.
Cloudy Balloon.
The best way of pronouncing that man's name.
The only way to pronounce it, you can't really say anything else now.
It's like Vavavoom, isn't it? You can't say that word without saying it like Thierry Henry.
Well, you can.
Well, it's not the same. In your head, you do.
That's true. That's true.
There's not much else to take from the race. Everyone else just had a bit of a Western Supermare. I think Steve-O come 7th.
I mean, I think I had the pleasure of taking the third corner wrong, the wrong line, 35 laps in a row, which is quite impressive. However slow I went, I seemed to go wide or too deep.
Yeah.
I was actually quite quietly pleased with that.
So do you have any? Obviously, the last race is in Brazil. Have you got any big thoughts about what will go down there? We have got someone banned, by the way, for Brazil.
Oh, have we? What, for dive bombing or something else?
I don't really know. But Aldoro is not going to be racing.
How come?
On-track indiscretions.
I don't really know anything about him.
No.
Not really heard anything about him in the chat. So interesting. He's been banned. Is that actually true? Is he being banned?
No, it's genuinely true. He's not racing in Brazil. He's
Who made that decision then?
Macca.
On what basis?
He's been hitting people apparently.
Oh, what, in real life or on the track or both?
On the track. Oh dear, the head's gone. Yeah, well, I don't know about that, but it's above my pay grade.
I hope the editing on that section sounds good, by the way.
Oh dear, this is going to be the most edited podcast anyone has ever heard. Didn't help that me and Robert dropped out about 4 times. And finally, I wanted to mention one last driver who had a very unusually strange performance. We have mentioned him slightly earlier, but it was actually back onto Dave. He with his second place. You mentioned the corner cuts.
Yeah, obviously I was lying earlier about his corner cut. I'll be honest, back in the cheap seats, I didn't see much of Dave's driving. I assume it was quite good. But it was a wonderful performance from Dave, so well done, Dave.
What do you make of Emperor and Bellon? Because they
Not interested.
Oh.
No, I'm joking. I'm only saying that because I'm bitter that France are going to win the World Cup on Sunday.
Yeah, no, fair. I think that's probably fair.
I think that's enough praise for the French.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I suppose we should probably congratulate Luigi on winning, as everyone has. But
indeed, it's kind of, I suppose it's kind of as soon as V5 didn't bother racing last week, that was kind of the end of it anyway. But yes, Luigi, well done. Congratulations.
Indeed.
Does he get some sort of blankety blank checkbook and pen or something similar? I'm sure that no one outside the UK and anyone who's under the age of 25 will not get that reference. But
no, not at all. I don't think there's any kind of supplementary game show based reward for winning Division 2.
I suppose the Generation game you used to get the quivering blokes, didn't you?
Hang on, now you're showing your age on me.
There is not a lot in this, Mark. So
no.
But I think that's quite niche. But yes, you did used to get quivering blokes. Jim Davidson. Was it Jim Davidson?
I don't know. I lived in a council house. We didn't get ITV.
You used to go and attack stray dogs, didn't you, for fun?
Well, stray kids for stray dogs, I suppose. But anyway.
You ended up making friends with one. You went out with one for a bit, didn't you? With those stray dogs.
Oh dear. No, that's my child. But
because it's true.
We'll wrap it up. I don't think you're here in Japan. Japan? You're definitely not in Japan. You're not attending Brazil, are you?
Unfortunately not. I'm socialising with the real world. I'm sure some of the people who race in the league have heard of it. Possibly not all of them.
Not me. Not for a while.
Well, no, true.
But there. Cool. Well,
You
we'll leave
spend
it
all
there.
your money on wheels.
I do. But it's not really helping. I've barely practiced with it, but there we go. But
Next year.
are you gonna? We might do a season wrap up. If you're up
Well,
for
I
it.
think we should do. Yeah, we'll do a formal season wrap. We'll go through some proper stats and I mean I'll make some stats up probably about my own racing just to make me seem a little bit better than I really am. And I'll pretend I finished a race or something like that.
Yeah. Do a median consistency. You're the most consistent driver based on median.
I'm very consistent, and as soon as I get that finish in, my most improved badge is heading my way. Because zero to any number is an infinite improvement, so I'm very pleased with that.
Maths.
Yeah, gotta love the maths.
Cool. We'll wrap this up because I think there's only so long people enjoy actually hearing us talk about nothing. But,
No, I'm not
but
sure
yeah.
that's very long at all. But
No.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for ringing.
No, it's not. Okay, whatever. All right. Bye.
Bye.
And on to our next section. Apologies for some of the cutouts on this one. There's been a little bit of editing had to be done, just for kind of quality of sound reasons and quality of content reasons. But yeah, look, without further ado, here is the chat with. What happened to you last race?
What race? Oh yeah, fuck that.
Right, listen, I want to. We're going to put it on the podcast, so.
Yeah.
I want you to be honest. I just don't want. Listen, me and Smithy, one of the organisers, were saying about it, and Robertson, the Romanian guy, he did a bit on the podcast where he was saying that he wants you to be in the league next year. I think most of us do, but a few people don't necessarily think you're driving too fair. But I don't want it to come across like people are saying things negatively to like not want you to be in the league, because it's quite cool. You talk a lot of smack, you're quite quick.
Yeah.
So we do, but I just want it to make I don't know, I just want it to be kind of fairly positive.
Expecting, like, for Division 2, I was expecting top 10 be fighting, at least everyone be fighting, all the top 10 be fighting for podiums and wins. But it was only like 5 people in the whole thing that are actually going for the position.
See,
That's the problem.
See, last race, ironically, Dave, who comes second, is normally one of the guys that gets beat by me, Steve-O, and
In fairness, he only came second because was it me and Clady, the thing crashed at the start. Then there was who else Army retired. Basically just open positions. So without that, I say he would have probably came sixth.
So
like, the only league I actually practice for is PRL, and that's it. Like ARR, I've barely practiced for that today. I had like 7-5 lap sprints today. I didn't practice for it at all. And PSF 1 today, I had that. Didn't practice at all for that.
But
like literally, I went from second last to fourth that race, yeah, in that last race. And literally, the people are so bad they don't even defend. They just let you by. And then when you dive bomb, they get saying that I had to move, but they weren't even near you. They won't even actually defend the position. They just start crying about it in the chat.
I agree. The one thing I agree with, right? There's a Division 1 commentator, O'Dens. I don't know if you've seen any of the Division 1 videos.
I've never seen it.
But O'Dens comments that in our league, people don't defend the inside line very well.
Like no one can defend. Only people like I raced a V5. That chap can fucking defend for his life.
Yeah.
His army, he could. Like I was racing in Singapore. It took me 2 laps to play him. He could defend, but the rest, just the people on the top right, like Robertson, they just don't bother. They see Steve-O, you see me behind me, just basically just let me by. They don't care because they're only fighting for that 7 to 8. They're thinking, oh, I'm not going to come that position. So that's stupid.
Yeah, but it's funny because, I suppose the problem is there is a fine line, and like I said to you in the chat earlier, like if you make contact, whilst it don't damage either people, sometimes it's not the right thing to do. I mean, is there any time in Mexico, like genuinely, is there any time in Mexico that you thought, looking back on it, I probably shouldn't have done that, or do you feel like it's perhaps people's mentality rather than yours?
Like turn 1, fair enough. I shouldn't have been that aggressive, but still, you know what I mean. It was a racing instance, in fairness, but I did deserve the penalty points anyway. I actually have to admit that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you say that. I mean, I didn't really have a problem because although I went into you, I could tell that you was already spinning. I couldn't really blame you for my wing damage because things happen at turn 1.
It wasn't even your fault. I just got pissed in the chat. That's why I had to, blame you. Even though I was already spinning, you'd hit me. But even it doesn't matter if you hit me. I would hit the wall anyway. I was already going into the wall behind me, so it doesn't matter.
No, exactly, and like, I think this is the thing as well that some people need to understand, is that straight after a race, everyone's a little bit vexed. I think the thing is with the rules, and I think
it's fair enough. You're allowed to make one move. You can make one move, but they don't even make it.
Yeah, and I think maybe you do actually have a point in the sense of perhaps it is too friendly sometimes, and it's like you don't want to tread on people's toes.
Like, why would you? I get the rules, yeah, no contact, I get you. But in every other league, the most you can do, you're allowed a wheel bang. If you touch wheels tiny bit, just about you're making a move, that's fair enough, as long as you don't break someone's wing.
And I think that's a good point. I think that's probably
people are afraid to bang wheels. Like me and D5. Fair enough. I've been too aggressive. USA, but I had to get the podium. But me and him were banging wheels a little bit, but we didn't break it. Didn't take each other out of it.
And I think I said this to V5, and I said this is perhaps a point of view difference in the sense of.
Yeah, but it's fine. I didn't smack him off the track. We're still on the track. I tipped the dive bomb. The first corner. The first corner before the straight in USA.
Yeah.
I dive bombed him there, and there was the room. He went wide, and I went in. Me and him touched tires, but we didn't take each other off. That's fair enough.
And I think this is where the idea of this is where it becomes blurred, right? And I think this is where
in real life it touched tires a tiny bit.
But I mean, the problem is like
look at Paul Ricard between Raikkonen and Verstappen.
Yeah, hey, look, I agree, and I think the one thing that I will say as well, which is a good talking point, is earlier with you and Steve-O going into the stadium section. With yesterday in Mexico, and the point is, and
that's a fair move. I know that's a fair move. He went wide and I went for it. See, and he turned when I was in. That's a fair move, though.
And I said,
whoever says that, they're just going to say it's not, but clearly is.
No, and I think I'll be honest with you.
No one took each other out of it. We all, I more or less left the room. There was room there, and I went for it.
See, I'll be honest. I don't agree, and I'll tell you why. Right, but. I understand what you're saying, and this is what I said to V5.
If someone does it to me, it's fair enough. I know, don't smack each other off the track. Even bang, there's a little tip in the tyres, it's fine. A tiny touch in the tyres, fine. That's fair enough. But once smack someone off the track, that's like what I did to Roberts. Remember, I went back off. Fair enough. That was I shouldn't have done that.
And do you know what? Genuinely, it's nice to hear you say as well, like. Hands up, I did something. I've done stuff wrong. I showed you that video of me in Monza where I dive bombed the fuck out of everybody and everyone laughed, and even you said like, what the hell are you doing? People do things and that they don't agree with.
Like in fairness, when I went wide, when I tried dive bomb, and I kind of don't know what happened. I braked a bit too late. I should have went back through the grass. I should have went back on the track, on the road part of it. Instead of going straight, cutting across, and I went right into him.
And I think, but the incident with Steve is a good example, right, between different people's perceptions of what is right and wrong. Because what I
sent that to my other league, and half of them said it's illegal, and half of them said it's fine, as long as I didn't hit him wide. But I didn't hit him wide though.
And again, this is down to the perception, and perhaps this is a league thing, right? Because our league. Our view on things, and I said this to V5 earlier, is our league is you avoid contact at all times. Now, and I actually think that the game's damage engine is really, really bad, because basically you can only damage the front end. You can't damage your rear end, can you? Do you know what I mean? Like if you brake test someone, nothing happens. Someone loses their front wing.
In 2018, I think they put something in to damage their wing. But in real life, they don't really damage the rear wing anyway, unless, like, I mean, some other car just goes, hit, you know. And listen, you never see a rear wing being broken in real life either.
Well, you can damage the floor. It can't happen
with DRS failures, shit. Yeah, you can damage the floor, but in this game, there isn't nothing really there. Like.
No, exactly, and I think the thing is, and it's a good example with yours and Steve-O's incident in Mexico, is where when you dive in like that.
The way I'm thinking of it, there's no way. Fair enough. There's no way I could break his wing doing that.
No.
You're not going to get a puncture doing that. There's no punctures unless the tyres on 75%.
Yeah,
So,
it depends on the
Not
tyres.
on professional players.
But
so,
yeah. But I agree. Listen, I think you play the game's mechanisms and the way the game works. Like I don't think you damaged anyone's wing in any of these dive
No,
bombs.
I know the game inside out. I know how far you can go until someone gets damaged.
Exactly, and I think that's the point. Is that, and this is the difference. Is that PRL has a different view on it. Is to avoid contact. So it's almost like a similar. If that was a real F1 race earlier, and you've gone into Steve.
Really allowed,
No, and that's the thing is that I say we, I don't say we, I'm not talking on
but in
behalf of everyone.
fairness, I was gonna, even if I didn't overtake him there, I was gonna get him on DRS straight. So in fairness, I would have got him both ways.
That's kind of even the more frustrating thing though, is that you were quicker. Listen, I'll hand on heart say you are quicker than me, Steve-O, Dave at most track. I know how quick you are because the racecraft aspect. There was an incident in Division 1 where two top guys were battling and the guy in second was using the traction out the last corner. He wasn't even bothering with the stadium section. I think the racecraft...
People like Steve-O, he's using full traction. The only reason why he couldn't turn in quick enough is he had the full traction on. I say if he had medium traction or even no traction at all, I wouldn't have got that move and I wouldn't be able to get that move. He would have turned in quicker. The way you put the accelerator on, the game is basically doing it for you. Yeah,
true. He doesn't use no traction. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he uses...
I asked him before he uses full.
Oh, really?
I don't know why he's using there, but at the start he told me he's using full. But I don't know. You can at least say anything. I don't know. That's what he told me. But I'm just going by his word.
It's a tough one. I mean, look. I suppose I get your point of view, and from talking to you even more, it's quite nice to hear. You know, you've acknowledged that what happened with Robert wasn't great.
I know the move's not. You're not allowed to do that. Fair enough. But like, it touched his tires a little bit. I didn't hit him wide. It wasn't really an illegal overtake as such. Like.
But even
kind of was half and half.
That's what I mean. Is the wording's grey. Even you're like, I don't know, kind of. Like, but you're not a bad. But you're not a bad. I don't think you're a bad guy. Because this is it. Like. And on a level between, you know, myself and you, on the chat sometimes. Listen, if I was getting attacked, I'd call somebody names. I'd go, do you know what? Screw you, like, because that's how people work.
I'm saying shit to V5. He hasn't even beaten me yet. The chap hasn't beaten me yet. So that's only 3 races in PRL. Yeah, he didn't race in Mexico. Think about it. He's supposed to be second fastest in the league, behind Luigi. Whereas he not proved it against me, and he couldn't do it. I bet him in Singapore in quali, and he bet him in USA in quali, but I still bet him both races overall. So.
Nah, and it's good that you got that ambition, and I think Robert said it earlier, that he looks forward to racing you next season. He just hopes, I don't know, there's less incidents. Listen, I think we will enjoy racing you because you're a quick guy. We just don't want to talk about you as much, if that makes sense. We want to enjoy. Listen, Dave comes second, right? That's his best ever performance in PRL, and
if he is last at podium, I guarantee that. But
I think the big thing is that it was such a good performance for Dave, and it was kind of overshadowed by everyone having to go at you and you getting angry.
No one even is going to think of him coming second. Like, that's the thing. He went from 13th to second. He should have got driver of the day in fairness, but
yeah,
definitely. The chat, no one even noticed.
And that's the thing, and we don't want that next year. I personally like quick people in the league. Makes me better, and it makes everyone else better. And I think if you come back next year, I want to see you be quick, and I want to see you challenge.
I don't see how can the difference be that big between the top 5? How can it be the difference between like a second and a half between like one of the people a second and a half slower? I don't understand how can you be that slow. It's not hard. Like tracks like the easy tracks like Monza. The most you could be within the second. I know loads of people are like you call slow drivers as in the top 15. In my other leagues, they'd be actually within 1.2 seconds of pole from 15th place. That's called league racing, not like fucking last place is 3 seconds slower than pole. That's just stupid. That's not Division 2. That's like Division 5.
and I think next year we're gonna have 3 divisions, from the sounds of it at least. And I think
There's a lot of people that need to be moved down. A lot of people in that league. There's like literally 3 people I can name right now that should be moved down.
Go on then.
I'm not saying it on the podcast, but they know themselves.
Listen, if you think I'm one of them, I'm gonna surprise you next year, my man.
You're not. Like, you, Robert, Steve are not even close. There's people I haven't even mentioned their names in the chat. If you can go through the list, I haven't even mentioned them.
Alright.
The 3 of them are there.
Right. If you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Look. Can we get
I don't
agreement
die
on
for them,
something?
but I know when there's a room, I will go for it.
That's the difference. They're 2 very different things. Like, I don't know. Listen, I hope you come back next year. I look forward to racing in 2018. I think your challenge. I think
There's gonna be no challenge for me then. Waluigi and B5 be gone.
no. People are going to drop down. Division 1. I might be wrong, but the general consensus and the general kind of vibe is there's going to be a few more quick people join Division 1.
Yeah,
And if anything,
isn't top 2 gets promoted, then bottom 2 get relegated? Does it work like that?
No,
Most leagues I know, it works kind of like that.
No, it's based on pace, and V5 and Waluigi aren't anywhere near. Literally, you stuck V5 and Waluigi in Division 1 now, they struggle
Yeah,
to
but quality
get.
pace means nothing. I know loads of tracks that like Monaco, I've been nowhere near quality pace in any league. But in race pace, you just wait. Monaco's the worst track. Literally, I can never qualify there.
Yeah,
But I know the people I race against. I've actually won a Monaco from 5th place before. So
yeah. I don't think. I don't know. I don't think the overlap's there. I think the division will get bigger next year in the sense there'll be more challenging drivers drop down. But I might be wrong. We'll have to see. Depends on how quick. It's a different game end of the day. This podcast go on YouTube, so I'm not going to use that word. You've got balls coming on and chatting, so I really appreciate it, bro.
The defender is able here to control.
Thanks for coming on, man.
yeah, I'll see you.